Like, how did you become this public figure?
I mean, I literally have no comprehension of what happened. I decided that I was just going to talk about some of the things we do so that it's like, look, this is what we do. Let's not try to pretend that we don't do it. We do it. We need to fix it, and in a realistic, scientific way where we have some empathy and treat people like human beings, because we don't. So we're denying that we have this. So what people are saying, these cops aren't racist. I'm not saying they are racist. What I'm telling you is they're participating in institutionalized racism. You're participating in it. You're guilty, and that's what I'm telling you. I'm guilty. I participated in it.
Is there a way to fix it?
Well, the easy thing from the police thing is I think empathy is number one. We have to start treating human beings like they're human beings. We have to, we just arrest them and you throw them in a cage, just like they did with Freddie Gray. And you don't focus on them being somebody's child or your, I mean, race is a social construct. This is my brother and I'm doing this to him. Eventually it just doesn't, it's inconceivable. We're perpetuating that situation. So we're the ones doing that cycle. So when we see a 16, one time I was a shift commander in the Eastern District, and I'm telling my guys, stop pulling over old white ladies, stop pulling over that young cute girl, stop. We focus on who commits the crimes. That makes sense. Until you complete the cycle and realize that you started doing that because of institutionalized racism in your organization. And so when you are jacking up those guys in the corner and you do find that dime bag, so you send him to jail, now he can't go to work the next day, so he loses his job, and then he can't make it to court, so he gets his license suspended, and then he's driving, and then you are focusing on those 16 to 24-year-old black males, so now you're more likely to pull them over. Now you pull him over, now he has a suspended license, now he gets his license revoked, and now he can't get to the job legally, and now he's left with selling drugs on the corner. So we're creating it. We have to step back and realize what the facts are on what we're doing. And the number one problem is the drug war, and then we have money and politics. Those are our two big issues that we have to solve before we get anywhere. So that's our role. That's what we're doing. So your mayors and your politicians are going to continue to encourage that. They're not going to take a risk and say, all right, how do we lower possession of marijuana? You legalize it.
Yeah.
And you control it, and rates actually go down. Whether we're overseas or we're in Colorado, your possession rates for marijuana will go down. But we don't do that. We keep looking at everything like we're a hammer searching for nails, and we keep looking for what we're going to hit to stop it, instead of standing back and using science and figuring out what are we actually going to do to fix this problem, what will actually have results.
This is very rare to hear a cop talk like this. I'm really happy that you're coming forward and speaking like this. But how many people that were with you in the police force are upset about this?
I think the vast majority is upset with me, and they're going to be upset with me because what I'm really trying to do is take power away from them. I mean, I really am. I'm trying to take power from them and give it back to the people, because we're supposed to be serving them, not be an occupying force. Intentionally actually go out of my way to lift up a situation and de-escalate it and do better than to come in there and be like, you're going to jail, shut up, let's go, which is what I did for a long time.
So when you say the county, what does that mean? When you say white boy from the county, what's the county?
Right, so the suburbs. So in Baltimore, it's kind of weird. It's a little different. So Baltimore is incorporated, so it has nothing to do with the county. So there's like this hard line. So it's not where, the
county of what?
Baltimore County.
Oh, okay.
Right, so you have the city by itself. So here in Los Angeles, you think you have Marina Del Rey, you have Inglewood, you have all this stuff is LA. Mm-hmm. In Baltimore, it's just Baltimore. So everything is concentrated and focused. And me coming from the county, I've never spent any time in the city growing up. I come in just as straight from the Marine Corps. That's ready to roll. We're going to do our thing. I'm going to put on a different uniform and continue my war.
Wow. So that was why you became a cop. So you came right from the military, and it just seemed like a logical progression.
Right. It's a logical progression. I think I went into the Marine Corps to prepare myself. I was a little uncontrolled, and decided to go into the Marine Corps to get my shit together and
discipline.
So I could get into the police department and everything would be. And that was always my.
So your goal was always to be a police officer,
right?
And why was that?
I don't know. Said it since I was a little kid. I think you go in with these grandiose ideas that you're going to help people, and I wasn't doing what I actually set out to do. I was actually exacerbating the situation.
So you got caught up in the cycle yourself, the cycle of law enforcement and the way law enforcement behaves in Baltimore, and it just became habitual.
Totally. You don't think about it. You just ignore it. So when I say that I have that suspect that I chased and the guy comes up and kicks him in the face, I think to myself, God, that guy's a fucking asshole. But not me. I didn't do it.
Right.
But I have the responsibility to do something there. That was an assault on an innocent victim. It's not as bad as McKinney, but it's assault on an innocent victim that I should have certainly stepped up and done something about. It's just you're in it. You don't. I can't explain it. How you don't see it until you really just start to slowly step back, and it's like, what are we doing? I think your cell phones are certainly scaring a lot of cops from doing things. But the only variable here is the proliferation of video cameras. So as you get more and more cameras, you're seeing more and more.
Like that fucking cop in Texas that showed up at the pool party and did the fucking roll like he's Paul Blart Mall Cop. Holy fucking shit. When you find out that that's a real person, you just like...
Right, so think about that situation. So that's the McKinney situation where you have a guy assaulting a 14-year-old girl. And that chief still comes out, and still he has that blinder, that blue blinder, where he's saying there's 11 good cops there. My ass, there are 12 bad cops there because they just witnessed an assault on a 14-year-old girl in a bathing suit and did shit about it. So you have 12 bad cops. But the reason why I'm talking is because I do think those 11 other ones can be spoken to. I think the guy that comes up and pats him on the back then is like, yo, what are you doing? Why is your gun out? If we keep talking to him, then maybe he'll be able to go talk to 2 more people. Maybe he'll realize what he's doing, and we can kind of at least on a grassroots level kind of change what police think they're supposed to be versus what we are. I did not find the job stressful on the streets. The greatest enemy was from within. They say that in End to Watch. Don't worry about the street. You got to worry about what the other officers are doing.
I missed that too. Heard it was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was the banter back and forth in that movie is very realistic of what cops act like. You think cops are all professional, but we're sitting in the car talking about the same things that anybody else talks about, and then you're, oh shit, something's going on.
Mostly pussy, right? Yeah. Anyway.
So it wasn't stressful for me.
Are you a weirdo?
I don't think so. I think I built up that wall.
Uh-huh. But do other people have that wall?
Not all of them. I know some of them handle things more personally, so they take that. So I don't think we want those people as cops. I understand
Right.
it's hard for them. I get that. But the job's not for anybody. You're absolutely right when you say the job is nearly impossible. I think it is impossible to do right. So that's why we have to be more human, so that when we screw up, we can say, look, I screwed up and this is why. And people will understand where you're coming from. Whereas with Freddie Gray, we obviously screwed up. There's no way around this. But yet we still come out and be like, oh, what? We don't know anything. Wait till the facts are out. Bullshit. You had somebody in your possession and he's dead. Stop denying him. And they got a knife out of his pocket. So let's stop at this knife. Now, how do we get into the knife? We searched.
Right.
We went into his pocket.
Illegal search.
We don't have a stop and frisk.
Right.
But even if you can somehow justify that, the knife that he has is only illegal if it has an internal spring. So how could you feel whether it had an internal spring or not? And how many white people do you think carry a knife with an internal spring? It's going to be the same amount, but do any of them ever get arrested? Never. The whole thing is stupid. So why do you create a law like that? You create a law like that so you can fuck with the people that you want to fuck with. That's why we do it.
So they use it as an excuse.
Absolutely. So we can fuck with who we want to fuck with. It's exactly what we... And we're good. We're playing the game. We know.
Did it bug you that you were looking for drugs? Did that ever, like, go, what the fuck am I doing being some sort of a glorified revenue collector for the state, pulling people over and for drugs? Yeah,
you're totally right. There is no point in any consensual adult agreements to fight against them.
Yeah.
But my whole point is to keep it real. It was fucking fun.
It was fun.
It was fucking great.
Fun to catch them?
Yes, I live for the car chase. I mean, you think about this. Think about if you're in a police car and you have the lights and sirens,
right?
And you're going down like Coastal Highway, or you're going down your favorite 101 or whatever it is, and you're going through your side roads and you're chasing this guy. There is no adrenaline rush that's ever compared to that. You live for it. It's incredible. It's amazing. And you don't really, I didn't really care why. Give me the car chase. It was amazing.
That's so refreshingly honest. I'm so glad you're talking like this, because I always thought that too. I always felt like it must be exciting for them, like a fucking
it's amazing
cheetah chasing a gazelle. You
right?
know?
I have 3 good stories we can tell later on. That I mean, it's just like, oh, you can understand if you were in that situation looking for the target. Yeah, I was. You know, if I had a guy with a knife, I was sitting there, I was telling him, put it down. But in my head, I'm going, oh, fuck, don't put it down.
You want him to come at you so you can shoot him.
I'm a fucking cop. I'm going out there. You know, it's like, this is what you do. But
you had a line.
And I wasn't going to cross it. I certainly wasn't going to cross it. I was ready to shoot if I had to, but I was never going to cross that line.
But you kind of wanted to shoot.
Sure.
Wow.
I mean, I come from the Marine Corps.
Right.
I was in fast team.
Right.
This is what I did. I was trained from 17. I went in the Marine Corps at 17. I was handled a rifle in boot camp, and I went into special ops, and I was trained day in and day out to kill. That's the honest truth. And then I have to transition into bringing that skill set into the police department, where luckily I was able to separate myself and it wasn't an issue for me. But I don't think that's where the shootings come from. I'm pretty convinced that your military members actually won't shoot. I'm convinced that the shootings come from fear. Fearing that whether we want to face it or not as a nation, it's real, and we have to face it if we want to learn how to police properly, and we actually want to get our nation back to where it is, and we tear down these borders, these things that we do, these social constructs, your flags, your whether we have a line down at Mexico so that they can't come over here and we don't help them, and we have our states, and we do all this so much dumb shit that we just make up to separate ourselves, but there's no difference. He's got more melatonin than I do. Wonderful, whatever.
They're just human beings.
Yeah, I mean, we're all the same. We know this. Scientifically, we know this.
Did you get into altercations where you had to shoot people?
I could have pulled the trigger justifiably quite a few times.
But you never did?
No. I mean,
so you
it was
went 11
resort.
years in Baltimore, in the city, and you didn't have to shoot anybody?
No. I can't. I mean, I know of two that happened pretty close to me that were completely clean shooting.
We need people like you who other people are going to listen to and say, well, here's a guy who's on our side. Here's a guy who's not a racist. Here's a guy who's not just looking to shoot people and lock people up. Here's a guy who really came into this job wanting to help and experienced a bunch of fucking chaos.
Yeah, it's chaos. There's no other better word for it. It's the biggest shit show you'll see is going to an urban environment and being thrust in that, because it's not just, as I was saying, it's not just a street, it's internal as well. The whole thing is a big clusterfuck of mismanagement, and no one's caring about what we actually need to do. We need to end the damn drug war. This is ridiculous that we're doing this.
So that's most of what you're arresting people for?
Oh gosh,
Was it all of it?
90%?
Jesus fucking Christ. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? 90%.
That's all that matters there is guns and drugs. Guns and drugs. Guns and drugs. Guns and drugs.
And guns probably are there so they could sell drugs and defend themselves.
Themselves, right.
Yeah. Fucking A, man. What a crazy, crazy situation. Just a bizarre police state set up by the fact that drugs are illegal. Man.
We saw what happened with alcohol, right?
Mm-hmm.
So gangs take over and you have violence. Do you want to lower the violence? Isn't that the mission of the police? Do you want to lower the violence? Then every single chief out there needs to be saying, hey, we need to end this drug war. Stop it.
I think when you violate, somehow or another, you violate either other people's rights or other people's safety or other people's health and welfare, then it becomes a real issue, and you should be prosecuted based on whatever transgressions you've committed.
Right. So don't you agree then that the drug war distracts you from actually being
100%.
real police?
100%.
Totally turns you away from.
Did you develop friendships? Did you develop any sort of connection with those folks?
None. I was an occupying force. So I go from there and I go to the Northern District, which is this area called Mount Washington. Mount Washington is an upper class, 80% to 90% white. You have judges that live there. You have nice houses, $400,000, $500,000 houses. And now I'm in this environment, and it's like, holy shit, where am I? You know, I'm in white land now. I have this road that's called Cross Country Boulevard, and it has a stream next to it. What the hell am I doing here? So I'm expected to get the same amount of arrests, and I'm expected to write the tickets. So I have bosses that are telling me, like, you're not doing anything. Like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm like in a good neighborhood. What do I do? So I would leave my area, go to the black neighborhoods, and make drug arrests so that I could appease my bosses with my arrest numbers. So you're continuing that cycle once again. I'm leaving that area to go poach and specifically continue that cycle. And I'm doing it because that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
So if you were in a place that had no crime, you would get in trouble.
Yeah. I had my one sergeant had to defend me constantly because I went to a post in that same district where I started bringing the crime numbers down, but I didn't have the arrests. And he had to defend me to his bosses, saying, like, look, he hasn't had a serious crime in a long time. That's his job. And I was getting criticized the whole time because I didn't have as many arrests.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate goal, right? Is to have no crime.
Shouldn't that be the metric?
That should be.
It's not a metric. So a great irony that I had in doing drug work is usually drug work sends you to the deeper into it. And it actually pulled me out because I would interview these guys in the little rooms. And this one guy, Daniel Taylor, is the one I'm specifically remembering. And he was just a marijuana dealer. And he had a kid, and he was struggling to have this kid. He was young. He was trying to help, but he had gotten locked up a lot when he was younger. So he was selling weed to just like buy diapers for his kid. And he would tell me his stories, and like, we would be there, and he would be crying. And it was just like, fuck, there's no difference between this kid and me. There's nothing. The only difference between this kid and me is that when I had a dime bag in my pocket, there wasn't a fucking chance in hell someone was going to look. But he was going to get caught eventually, and it sent him into that spiral. And this could have been a good kid, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was still in jail now. And there was just nothing wrong with him. Our whole system created a criminal out of a decent kid. And it was shocking to me. Like I knew I was following the rules, and so I had to arrest him. I had to finish this up because I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But it was kind of heartbreaking to start to see that these people, they weren't different than us. They just had a different environment than us, and we should be changing that environment, not changing them.
Wow, what the fuck, dude? What a crazy life you lived.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that at the time.
Right, but now being out of it, how long did it take before you realized how fucking crazy it was?
It started when I was in, but
it started with like talking to that kid that was
right,
crying.
and then realizing that this wasn't a war. This is ridiculous that we were doing this. This was not the enemy. This was a socioeconomic problem that we had to deal with. But this isn't the enemy. We are not at war. It's just preposterous.
So by being embedded in their community, you recognize that we really are, or you really were, an occupying force in just a community that's trying to get by. Just a bunch of people that are just like you or I, but their circumstances were unfortunate. They were born into this situation where this cycle is perpetuated over and over and over again, and you got a chance to see it. Did the futility of it all, was that obvious to you?
Yeah, incredibly obvious. There's no point. So I remember a case we had where there was a group that was selling drugs, and we worked on it for about a week or two, took down the whole group, and 2 days later, there was a whole new crew running the exact same neighborhood, doing the same product, and we were just like, fuck, that was pointless.
Right.
We just took all them off. There was no point to it whatsoever.
And it was all drugs anyway.
It's all drugs.
Fucking A, man.
Everything is drugs.
If I was a conspiracy theorist, I kind of been one in the past, but I've mostly abandoned that. But if I was, I would feel like this is engineered. I would feel like this is just set up to make sure that these people stay poor, that you keep arresting people, and you keep this cycle going.
I don't think you're a conspiracy theorist.
I
think you're right.
Is it because it exists and because the system sort of feeds off of it, or was it engineered?
I think the prison industrial complex has a huge role in that. So especially with your privatizing prisons, so you're creating a vacancy for a bed that must be filled. So who's going to fill that? So this is where institutional racism also comes in. I'm not going to fill it with you. We're not going to fill it with me. We're not going to fill it with Jamie.
Jamie's sketchy. Look at him.
No. We're going to fill it with the people we like the least.
Right.
As a society.
The people that you feel like you can demonize the easiest.
Yep.
What if, this is a big hypothetical, but what if we went into some sort of a situation in this country where drugs became decriminalized? Where the United States woke the fuck up and realized we've been doing the same shit that they did during the fucking 20s, during Prohibition. We're doing the same shit. We're telling people what they can't do. They're not listening, and we're feeding organized crime. We're feeding crime that is filling a vacuum, just like it's going on in Mexico right now. Just like these poor fucking people that live in these border towns in Mexico. It's all being fueled by the fact that drugs are illegal, and they're selling these drugs to America. If all of a sudden that changed, how much of an impact would that have on police?
It would be striking. Again, that's 90% of what I did. So if we would stop doing that, it would be incredibly advantageous.
But what would they do with you guys? See what I'm saying?
Let's focus. Let's investigate violence. Let's figure out how we're going to fix things.
Okay.
So use some science to say we have a problem. What do we do to actually solve this problem? Instead of being fueled by ideology, what are we actually doing? You've seen the thin blue line sticker, right?
Yes.
The black on the top, black on the bottom. So we even visualize ourselves the wrong way. So we're this thin blue line, and the thin blue line goes to the middle, and it separates the good guys from the bad guys, and it makes us neither. Our entire mentality is that we are somebody that's separate. We're not the good guys or the bad guys. We're a separate entity that runs this shit. Do we have a problem with power? We have as human beings? Maybe we do. So let's acknowledge that and put measures in place so that we don't exceed our power boundaries. Have some checks and balances in law enforcement because we have zero. We did away with everything we want to get away with until there's a camera. If we can just talk and start opening up as humans and be nice and be empathetic, then we're going to work all of this out.
I think when we look back at this time, 100 years from now, when people look back, when we're dead, they're going to look back and go, God, it was a fucking crazy time to be alive. That internet just fucking threw a monkey wrench into the whole gears. Clank. You don't hear any "we are all brothers and sisters" on Fox News. You don't hear that. What do you hear? You hear crime statistics. You know, you hear Nancy Grace with 2 Chainz debating about marijuana. I mean, you really, that's what you hear. You hear bullshit, nonsense. You don't hear any soul. You know, no one's got a goddamn heart. No one recognizes the fact that this is a temporary existence. We're going through a temporary existence, and there are so many of us. And there's pockets that seem almost unmanageable because they've been fucked over for hundreds of years, and there's just a swarming chaos in these areas. And they're riding on momentum. And they're riding on the momentum of decades and decades of poverty and crime and a cycle of despair. And it's going to be hard to fix that shit. But it's critical, and it's one of the most important aspects of our civilization. If we don't fix that, our civilization is nonsense. It's not that hard. Instead of being a fucking vampire and arresting people for crack and pulling people over and doing the same goddamn shit that everybody's been doing for the last 100 years.
It's striking how much we do things similar. One of the things we found when we were messing around digging through files is we found an action plan. And these action plans, like, so a big crime happens and the shift commander will draw up an action plan, send it up, what he's going to do to address this problem. And this action plan was from the 1970s. We found it in like 2010.
Whoa,
and
you found it?
We found it in a drawer, and it was the exact same action plan as the other shift commander was doing. It was like the same corners, the same response, the same plan. So like for 40 years, nobody's changed anything, and you have the same corners being the same problems with the same families and doing the same things, and the police are doing the exact same goddamn thing in response. Wow. It's unbelievable how we're doing this, and that's what these talks have to get us to do, is to do exactly what you're saying, communicate, lift up the country. It doesn't make any sense that we would treat a medical problem like it's a criminal problem and put those people into a jail cell, drug addicts into a jail cell. It doesn't make any sense.
So you're dealing with like a 2.5 foot, 3 foot target?
Yeah, it's almost impossible to miss.
And all you have to do is get 70% and you pass?
Yeah.
So you miss 30% at 15 yards, a giant fucking target?
We're not even talking about 15 yards. We're talking about, I mean, some of these are from 3.
Wait a minute.
So you start from the 3, you do a lot of rounds.
And they get set, hold the fuck on. 70%?
Right, so you can actually qualify before you even go
shooting
deep.
A person.
I know.
So this isn't even adrenaline. It's not even crazy.
No, this is ideal situation, ideal circumstances.
So it should be 100%.
I know.
100, or they kill you. They should kill you. Take you out back.
100. Yeah, 100. Maybe get a different try. I've had 98s from time to time, but they shouldn't be there. It's staggering. People don't understand what we're talking about. When you say the job is impossible, it is completely impossible, especially with the amount of training that they have.
Oh my God, I don't understand how they don't train you how to do that. They don't train you how to use firearms correctly?
No, nobody.
Accuracy? They train you how to breathe while you're shooting?
They tell you all these things, but
they don't train you.
They don't have time. So the instructors, they know what they're doing.
Right.
But they don't have time to take somebody that has no idea what the hell they're doing, or what's even worse is somebody that has bad habits, and break those habits so they can be a decent shooter. It's there's no time for it, and it's not going to happen. There's no standard. So if they don't pass, they just keep shooting them and shooting and shooting and shooting until you pass.
So you just keep doing it, or you learn.
There's no learning. I mean, they just keep learning, and you only do it once a year.
What?
Right.
What?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Practice.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No practice once a year.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't do this job without the Marine Corps.
Oh my.
So the only reason I was any good. Was from the Marine Corps.
How many guys were in the service that you worked with?
Maybe 20%.
So 80% have no experience.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Oh my God! It's a Will Ferrell movie.
You could
Seth
do it. I mean,
Rogen,
that's what
Will
it feels
Ferrell
like. That's
movie
why I
about
say.
Cops.
Yeah, I say about the banter. I mean, that's really. It seems that way a lot.
God damn it! I can't believe that. So no self-defense training.
What is there is just pointless.
You don't have to have like a certain degree of proficiency in hand-to-hand combat.
No, they do like wrist locks and carries and stuff like that. But,
wrist locks?
Yeah, these are things that in a real scenario we can't do. So
you got to be a bad motherfucker.
We can do a
to pull off
drill.
wrist lock.
Yeah, you can do a drill and put me to the ground with my wrist. But in real life, you're never getting my wrist.
That's a very vulnerable spot. Ow!
We're not going to really teach cops to strike. You're just not going to get anywhere.
The best way to learn.
Yeah, you're right. The getaway, you might actually be onto something there. That could be that's something we should be doing, because what we do is we fear things. So remember, we fear that guy can hit us. We fear that. So we should have an understanding of whether he or she would actually be capable at that range or capable in this particular situation.
I think that for one, if you only had one, I would say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But if I was going to teach something to cops, I would definitely teach them striking. The last thing you want to do is be someone who doesn't know how to strike, and you get punched in the face, and you're seeing stars, your eyes are watery, your legs are buckled, and you don't know what the fuck to do because you've never been there
There's
before.
not a physical standard whatsoever.
Well, how about chicks?
No, no standards.
They don't have to have... They don't have to at least be able to like lift their body weight up or something, or do a chin up or something like that?
You get through the academy and you're finished.
What do you have to do to get through the academy?
Whatever it is, it's pathetic and easy.
Now, why is that? Is it hard to get people to join the police force? So you have to lower the physical standards?
Well, that's one reason why. I would be the prototype. Okay, I have a master's degree. I'm confident. I came from the military. If you go through my training record, you'll see it. It's all there. I would be the prototype. I'm what you're looking for. But you're not willing to pay me what it would take to get somebody like me normally to do it. Right now, if I went into a police department, they would be offering me $42,000 a year. Really? I mean, you don't think I'm going to take a $42,000 a year job, do you? I really think that one really, really good cop can do the job of the 4 or 5 of what we have now. It's not a diss on anybody else. It's we have this problem, and we have this problem. Recognize it. Let's fix it. When I say that I want to team up with DeRay, so if I took a police commissioner job, the first thing I would do is say, DeRay, please come join me, please, because I need you. I need him. He's a community leader. The idea that we don't integrate people like him into our system is ridiculousness. He is a leader of the black community. I need him if I'm going to run a police agency. And we should not be turning those kind of people away and making like they're some kind of instigators from out of town is what they would call it. They don't hesitate to say, why are they burning that CVS down? Well, that's the only symbolism of corporate America that they even have there, because they don't have a grocery store like you and I do. They don't have anything that we think of as normality. They live in an area that has food deserts, that doesn't have good schools, where the kids ride MTA buses to go to school, where life is, and their parents their father gets locked up because he has that dime bag and he perpetuates the cycle. But yet society keeps telling them, oh, well, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. They don't fucking have bootstraps. We need to have reform in policing.
I think that's a great idea. I don't think you need to bring guns into this.
Yeah.
Guns didn't do anything to anybody.
What are the cops killing people?
It's people. People are doing it.
People kill people.
People are killing people.
Right.
Guns are just sitting there looking beautiful.
How many gun deaths happened in England?
Fucking English. Bunch of pussies scared to pull a trigger.
So the argument, though, that's so funny.
Imagine if it turns out they all had guns. Like, I can't quite do it. I was thinking about shooting him, but it just doesn't seem right. I think it's very important that you're talking like this. I really do. Because I think there's a lot of people that would shy away from talking like that, especially someone who's still out of a career in law enforcement, you know?
I think my hopes for resuming a career in law enforcement are probably over. This is not about me.
Okay.
This is about the message.